So I know that some of you might still be a little confused about the quote integration, even after the Writers Bootcamp. So I wanted to just go a little bit more in depth before we started writing our papers. So I'm just going to go over the first method with you that we went over in the Writers Bootcamp. This is my preferred method. I think it's the easiest way to do it, and it's not very complicated. So the first step is to introduce the quote. So you don't want to just put your quotation marks in and then do a direct quote. You need to introduce it to your reader. So you can do this by telling the reader that you are going to be using a quote by saying like, the artist uses the lyrics and then put a comma and then the lyrics. Or in Where is the Love? You just want to give a little bit of preface. That way the reader isn't totally confused. Step 2 is then that you are going to place the direct quote after the introduction using quotation marks. So this is after the first step and is placed within quotation marks. So here's another example then for you. The Black Eyed Peas sing, there's a comma right there, and then I use quotation marks, and I said, can you practice what you preach? And then I close the quotation marks. So here we put together step 1 and step 2, and we can see that it's going okay, and that we have introduced the quote, and that we have put the quote in there, word for word. And then what you're going to do is you're going to insert your parenthetical citation and then a period. So your citation will use the artist's last name or the entire group's name, and then the line number that it is used in. So remember whenever we were annotating, I asked you guys to number your lines, but typically, you wouldn't use a line number. You would just use the page number that the quote is on and the author's last name. But in this case, it'll be the artist's name and the line number. So you put the name and number in parentheses, and you follow it with a period. So the period comes after the parentheses. So I have a completed version down here, but I also have a little note here. So if you use the artist's name in the sentence to introduce the quote, you only need to put the line number. You don't have to put the last name again. So the Black Eyed Peas sing, What's Wrong with the World? I don't have to put the artist's name because I put it in the introduction phrase. So it's just a 1. That's the line. And then if there we go. My second example, though, says, the song repeatedly says, people killing, people dying. And there I do have to put the artist's name and the line number because I did not use the artist's name in the introduction. If you have multiple quotes in one paragraph, you just have to use the last name once the first time, and then you don't. But every time that you change paragraphs, you have to redo it. So every paragraph should have a last name somewhere in the parenthetical citations. After you state the direct quote, you should have multiple sentences explaining the significance of the quote. That is where your analysis is going to come in and where the bulk of the paragraph is going to be. So I hope that this helps you a little bit better. If you have to use this and you still have questions, just email me and we can set up a Zoom, or I can explain it better for you through the email. All right, have fun.